بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, last night was the 25th night of the blessed month of Ramadan, and we hope and pray to Allah Azza wa Jal accepts our ibadat, Allah accepts all the good that we've been trying to do throughout this month. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overlooks our faults and mistakes and errors. And Allah makes this Ramadan a Ramadan of fruitfulness and happiness for all of us, goodness for us. And may we be able to take the momentum that we have started to attain in this month throughout the next 12 months and to the next Ramadan and until we depart from this world. Hakim al-Ummat Hazrat Maulana Aakil Thani rahmatullahi alayhi, one of the great scholars of the Ummah, he once mentioned an incident that took place with him. He said he was in those days, didn't have the electrical fans that we have now, the standing fans and the ceiling fans and the AC units. So when someone, so what would happen is that you would have sometimes a khadim, maybe a student, a younger child, whoever it was, would come, and what they would do is that they would what we say they would they would place some what we say punka, they would fan you, right? So they would take this, either is a different, maybe a piece of cardboard or something that would give a lot of wind. And we've seen them. I'm sure in Barbados we've seen them. We used to have them before. We look at the old pictures of the individuals in um, the kings and the queens of the old, and they would have individuals fanning them. So Hakim al-Ummat rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that he was the person was fanning him, and the person wasn't experienced. So as he's fanning him, he is hitting him on his head sometimes. Sometimes he's hitting him by his eye. And that continued for an hour. But Hakim Umar rahmatullahi alayhi, he never said a word. He never said a word. He didn't say, stop, leave me alone, nothing. And afterwards, when the person left after that, Hakim Umar rahmatullahi alayhi, he said, I didn't say anything to him because this person, out of love and muhabbat for me, he wanted to serve me and he wanted to fan me, so I allowed him to do it. But whilst there, as he was hitting me, I thought to myself that this is the example of an individual who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who does everything, and whilst worshipping, becomes happy. That look at me, I am praying, look at me, I am reciting the Quran, look at me, I am being generous. And really and truly, you're not fulfilling the obligations, you're not carrying out the action according to its etiquette and adab, you're not doing the action properly, and thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually becoming displeased with you. So that's why it is essential for us, whenever we finish an action, we always ask Allah that, oh Allah, Rabbana taqabbal minna, Allah accept from us, and oh Allah, whatever wrongs we have done whilst doing the action, oh Allah, forgive us for it. So we're now going to hand over to Mufti Abrar. He's actually in i'tikaf at the moment. So alhamdulillah, we're very happy to have him with us this morning, sorry. So he's actually with us. So from i'tikaf, live from Nur Islam. So please listen to him attentively.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض ومما أنفقوا من أموالهم، فالصالحات قانتات حافظات للغيب بما حفظ الله. صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected listeners, sisters, and everyone who's here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a golden opportunity to be experiencing the month of Ramadan. And as the days go by and the remaining of the days past, we should be much more concerned about trying to maximize the benefits, the barakat, the du'as, the ibadat that we've been doing. And we need to let that set in, you know, the reality of the slipping away of the month whilst we can do it and whilst we have the opportunity to think about it a little bit. Opportunities are things that many a times we have it, but the only time you realize that you have it good, or you are, benefiting from the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is when it's lost. And after it's gone, it's not a good time, right? It's not a good time to try and then, you know, as you say, mope and try to regret about the time that was lost. In fact, that theory itself is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, showed us from the teachings of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when the people of Jannah go into Jannah, there would be one thing that would be on their minds, or one thing that they would be regretful for. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, "Lam yatahassaru ahlul Jannah illa ala sa'atin lam yadhkurullah," that the people of Jannah would not have any regret. They wouldn't have any type of feeling um, of not accomplishing something, except those moments that they did not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they did not remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the people of Jannah would be cured from any type of ill feeling, any type of disease, any type of um, sense of inefficiencies, or any feelings of weakness whatsoever. When they go into Jannah, they would go into Jannah as a perfect person, individual that has all the qualities that you would say an ideal person should have. But that sense of regret will be the ones that they didn't use an opportunity of this world to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the dhikr and the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so important. So that being said, opportunities are something that we need to recognize. At the moments that we are living, and the moments that we have been blessed with from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what we should always be focusing on. This year and this month, people have lost a lot of time. Just recently, one of my cousins, she lost her husband. He was early 40s, probably just into 40s, and and he passed away. And this is, going to be obviously something that the family has to deal with, the loss of a loved one. And similarly, time will go by and we will all lose, our loved ones. We ourselves would lose time. Time would be gone. In fact, one of the things that I always tell young people and people who have been coming for, you know, retreats and, youth camps and these kind of things, is that recognize, as hard as it is something that they might not be able to conceptualize or even understand the importance of it, is recognize the power or the benefit of being young. Because being young is a secret or superpower in itself. And if you can recognize with youth that you have abilities that older people do not have, and that Allah has blessed you in a way that is very functional, very energetic, full of, ability, being able to memorize, being able to grasp, being able to learn. So many good things that you have when you're a younger person, but you don't realize it. And Shaitan does that. Shaitan actually understands that, if I can distract this person for the time that they're in this place, that I will become successful and they will become a loser. So, youth, I tell them that the superpower that you have is being young. If you understand that, then you can try to treat or use the youngness or the youthfulness that you have in a way that is beneficial for you. And a person who does that, they get a lot of benefit for when they are older. And the regret, obviously, that they have when they do not use it in the right way is when they become older and they realize that, what, they waste away the youth that they have. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding, and may He give us the benefit of being able to recognize the now, and being able to recognize the opportunities that we have in hand. Furthermore, I mentioned shaitan. Shaitan does that entirely for the purpose of distraction. As we know, one of the things that we would be able to recognize with shaitan, the Satan, is if you were to put some of um, things that Shaitan does, or some of the methods that Shaitan try to distract to lure a person. If you were to put different words as descriptions, I'm pretty sure many people would say he distracts you. He whispers into your mind. He tries to deceive you. These are the different words that the Quran uses as well. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentions that um, about the verse of what we would call the verse of music, or the one that um, talks about shaitan coming. It says that shaitan will come and will try to entice you and will try to distract you and to try to make you go away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if we know that someone is going to be distracting you, don't we try to guard ourselves from that distraction? So if you think about it like this, we have a task to finish. For example, something that is really important. Let's put it in a race. You have a race to run. So you have the starting position and then you have the ending position. And the objective of the race is to start and to end in a timely manner to try to get the best amount of time. But as soon as you start running the race, someone comes and says genuine things. They come and say, "Hey, did you check your lacing before you started this race?" So I mean that's a genuine concern, because if someone is running a race and their lacing is untied, you would want to look down and stop and tie your lace. So this person stops and look down and you realize that, okay, you know what? I slow down a bit, but when I look down, my lace is actually intact. But thank you for your concern, because it's good and I can continue running. So that's slowing down that they were supposed to do. They quickly take up pace and they move forward. Then a little further down, somebody said, you know what, you're very thirsty, and if you don't hydrate yourself properly, you're going to get burnt out by the end of the race, and you won't be able to. So that person stops, and then they start drinking water. That was a genuine concern again, and the person starts and then drinking. They're able to hydrate themselves, so that's good for the person. So when they start, the race continues, and so it's a 5K race. So you have some time. You don't have to make the time, but at the same time, you have to pace your body and make sure that you are going into a actual pace that allows your body to be able to finish, but not too slow that you would also fall back. But these are some of the things you would consider going by. And then, passing, running. If you see the group of people that you know and the people that you are aware of, your families, and they're cheering you on, and you stop for a moment, you're giving them a little wave and so on. These are things coming up, distractions. But all well and good, a person who knows that, you know what, I have to finish this 5K and there's a time limit or a time expectation that I'm trying, he puts in or she puts in the time within the race to deal with the general expectations that will come up. However, if this continues too many times, water keeps coming up again. Somebody comes coming about your lace again, or some issue with the family stopping and saying, I want to take a picture, whilst you're running or something like that. If you start taking in these things too much, what's going to happen is you're going to start losing more time. So what happens to the runner? Although there are some things that they would be concerned about, straight away there's certain things that they would blank out. Sorry, I don't have time for you. Sorry, there's no opportunity to me to stop. Um, that's not as important. I will prioritize what is important at this given time. That just remind me. I mean, giving you an example, a runner, right? And just now when I was coming in to do this talk, there was someone outside who was trying to get my attention, but I was in itikaf, so I had to leave and come back right away. I couldn't stop and have a talk or go and see what the person wants and so on. And then they called me on the phone and said, you just ignored me and you wasn't stopping and you because they were downstairs, I'm upstairs, and I wanted to talk to you. I was like, I'm sorry, I cannot talk to you right now because I'm in itikaf. I have to leave and come straight back into the masjid. I can't do anything else. So quickly we understand from in these examples that there are certain things in our life that we have experienced and we continue to experience, but we always put a priority up, and those things that are less priority, we put them down. A quick example of that, because these are realities that are taking place. When there's an emergency, you stop doing everything else and you go towards the emergency. You can have a lot of meetings, you can have a lot of people that you're supposed to guide, you can have things that you wanted to do for other reasons, but you have an emergency, someone's in the hospital, someone needs to go, you put all of that aside and you go straight towards the thing that you have to do. These are all the realities that we face. Similarly, Shaitan is trying to distract us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully explains to us that Shaitan's purpose is to distract us. And he does distract us so much. He distracts us in our family life. He distracts us and puts things in our ear to say, you know what, my husband is like this, my wife is like this. He angers us to try to make us irritated and try to cause discord and disunity in the house. Shaitan goes and he tries to pit one against the other. Sometimes he goes and he tries to get the kids, behaving in a very bad way or a way that is very irritating. So the husband and the wife then has the pressure of the kids fighting and having issues. So when they are uneasy, then when the kids are uneasy, the parents become uneasy. Then they become distracted. He does things to he gives you nightmares, and he gives you different times where you would get up unrest, you would not feel comfortable, you would not feel confident, you would have issues. So this is our sworn enemy, adu mubin. He is an open enemy that wants to destroy or wants to turn us away. So we understand this. This is not something that is away from our understanding. But you know what's interesting? When Allah goes and He tries to reprimand Shaitan on that day, on the day of judgment, He would say a very straightforward statement. And that straightforward statement is recorded in the Quran as well. La talumuni walumu anfusakum. Do not blame me, do not place blame onto me, but blame yourselves. I did not make, basically, I'm just paraphrasing, I did not make you do this. I merely whispered or guided or showed, and then you are the ones who did it. You did this to yourself. So the question is, if Shaitan can put up that argument, and Shaitan can tell us and show in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he's not actually responsible for us doing things, but just whisper something. He just does the work of Shaitan. In fact, people do the work of Shaitan too. They'll come up to say, I didn't know your wife had problems. And he'll be like, you wouldn't take it on. He said, no, 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 she didn't have problems. She was fine. Um, and then they would say, no, I heard she had problems. She had some mental issues or something like that. Now you say, no, there was nothing like that. So that person now goes and straight away When you are going home now, it's in your mind. I wonder if my wife had some problems, some mental issues. A new person getting married and something that they wasn't told about, something that they have not been told, something they don't know about. But in reality, he did not have any reason to believe this person, but yet it remains in his mind. And when something happens at the home or some issue or the other, straight away that thought comes up and says, you know what, I wonder if my wife has some kind of mental issue, some kind of mental problem. So straight away, it was information that you would have disregarded. But then you kept that in your mind to allow you to think when a problem occurs, and maybe is it possible she has a problem? So this is the way Shaitan works. Shaitan tries to distract us throughout our lives, and he makes situations where we would always be thinking about something else other than the actual purpose of life. So to be able to remedy that, to be able to get rid of Shaitan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us straightforward principles of life. Things that you know when we make decisions, when we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we're looking for guidance from the Quran, when we're trying to find what Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is advising with regard to all of the different types of situations that we face in life, you would see a certain type of practice or a certain type of attitude towards matters of the world in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So for example, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in one hadith, "La taqulu law." Do not say if. Do not say if, because if opens up the doors of a lot of um, issues. Because you would become mistrustful, you would doubt yourself, you would self doubt, you would turn away from certain actions that you may have done. If you were decisive, so don't go to the past thinking, if so, why didn't you do this? If this happened, if that happened, then I would have acted accordingly. No, don't say all of those things. Just do what you're supposed to do, and this would be enough for a person. So many a times Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his speech, he showed us, as a believer, you need to be very decisive, you need to be ready to make decisions, you need to be able to um, act according to how a believer should act. It should be one of great, merit, one of great standing. When basically you put your foot down, then go forward. Don't hesitate. Don't have taraddud. Don't feel that, you know what, I'm not ready to do this. I'm not ready to do that. Similarly, when you read the Quran, and these are some of the general reflections I was having when I was reading Quran today, and some of the verses that you would come up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically just puts a clear line between black and white. Like, for example, هل يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة. Is the people of the hellfire the same as the people of Jannah? Like, there's a clear question that is being asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's like, okay, I'm drawing the line that right across, make a decision. Is it yes or is it no? Should it, you know, don't beat around in between. So similarly, many of the principles of deen, there's no two ways about what you're supposed to be doing or what you're not supposed to be doing. So if you think about that as a method of prioritizing life, you realize that, okay, there's something that you should do and something that you shouldn't do. Um, there is um, so I'm just recapping quickly, right? As I mentioned just now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us opportunities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity of time. When a person wakes up, he tries to be as clear as possible, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us life. And look at the dua, Alhamdulillah, alladhi ahyana ba'da ma matana wa ilayhi nushur. That you, Allah, I'm thanking you for life after you've given me death. And death is such a clear indication of the lack of opportunity anymore. When you die, it's gone. And then when you start getting life again, or you recognize, or you are able to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, you know what, I have been given life, you kind of like can focus now. Okay, well, I'm a given life. What am I supposed to do with this life? Use the opportunity of it. Use the opportunity of serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use the opportunity of doing what is right. So life, opportunity. Then I started speaking about what happens though shaitan's, moral operanda, or the way that shaitan operates is he tries to just distract you a little bit, so you prioritize less things, and you get distracted more. So the things that are supposed to be important, you put that less important, and things that are supposed to be important, you do that. And that's the nature of the world. That's dunya for you, right? Al malu al banu zinatul hayat dunya. That wealth and children and progeny, they are some of the distractions, or some of those frivolous things of this world. These are the things that take away from our purpose, and what we've been created for. So shaitan does that actively, and sometimes he causes you distress and desert, so that you would become less able to do things. In one of the verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that when you quarrel and when you have discernment between yourselves, what happens? It takes away your strength. Takes away your strength, and then you are less able to do many of the good things that you're supposed to do. So this is how shaitan operates. So this is the second major point. The third one is now that you need to recognize the distractions. You need to recognize those things that are not as important, and try to focus on the important things. You need to try to focus on the dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not become negligent. So this third point is the solution to the ever happening situation, which is shaitan being distracting, people being distracting. You're always getting distracted naturally because of the innate nature of a humankind. You're going to have other things that are going to be pulling you, pulling you. You have the dunya to deal with. There's so many things that you have on a daily basis. But what are you supposed to do? Is replace those moments with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the more that you do that, the more closeness and the more connection that you have. And just like a Wi-Fi connection, what is very far, takes you a long time to be able to even look at the clip. But when you're very close to something, the connection, what happens is straight away you're able to easily look at things, download things, be able to benefit from the ability of the connection. So similarly for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants us to connect to Him. And when that connection is a very strong one, what happens? We're able to always be able to push off and to not fall into the trap of the distractions, because we're always being reminded. We always realize that, you know what, I'm not doing Dhikrullah. I'm not remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not reading my Quran. And that's why the ulama and the scholars have told us the consistency of your ibadah and your wird is much more important than the actual amount that you do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not expecting you to go and read a Quran every single day like some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu would do. He's not expecting you to every moment, do thousands of istighfar a day. He's not expecting you to always be in the masjid every single day. None of those things are expectations indeed. But Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the instructor of deen, expect you to be consistent in all of your actions, that you continuously do it, so that it breeds barakah in it, it breeds goodness in it, it breeds consistency in it, so that that itself will open up and widen your scope of goodness. And then because of the consistency of that action, it brings about the barakah and the benefit of the ibadah, that you realize that I can't do without this action. So some of us are in different places. Some of us are in where we would call trying to, or improving, or as they say when you're going to school, is need improvement, or working towards it. Some of us, for example, when we look at our salah, we realize that, what, my salah is far from perfect. I can't even call it good. My salah is haphazard. It's rushed. It's not even on time. It's having so much different types of issues with my salah. So then you kind of like be able to recognize where you are with certain actions, and then try to improve it. And then that person can slowly but surely become consistent, and then with the consistency he can improve, because there's always a foundation to start improving. So this is how a person comes out of this distracted stage. First, he starts coming out of distraction stage. He recognizes at that time the opportunity that he has or she has, and then the last thing, he comes into the state of recognizing and being grateful and being able to become what we would call a dhakir. So when you're distracted, when everything that comes forward, you're becoming caught up in it. That's what you call the stage of ghafla, the stage of becoming distracted, the stage of becoming negligent. When you come out of that stage, you come into the stage of becoming dhakir, which is a person who's always remembering, a person who's always connected, a person who is always mindful of what's happening. So that being said, I think my time is coming close. That being said, the main advice that I want to leave everyone today is that try to focus on what is important in life. And when I say that, that also comes with a certain amount of structure, guidance from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has told us. So we can't figure that out on our own. We have to look at the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and see what is important and what is not. And then when you do that, you'll be able to clearly see that, okay, Allah's Messenger has put certain affairs in different hands. He has placed different practices in different methods. He has placed whole society approaches in the way that the community is supposed to respond. So a quick example of that. Jum'ah Salah is Fard Salah. It is one that is supposed to be done. But the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not just leave the Jum'ah Salah to be a salah. Okay, we come to salah, we pray, and we go. But there's a pump up. There's a expectations for your Jummah salah. Go early. Don't just go, but go very early. Put the priority for the Jummah salah. Don't just sit there and say, you know what, when I get chance, walk in late. Not even hear what the speaker was speaking about, the lecturer was talking about. Go early as possible. You sit there, you reflect, you read Quran, you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you understand that there's an hour within the day of Jummah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts your dua. So throughout the day, you're going to be focused on being mindful of that moment, looking for it, turning to Allah, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even with that being early, you're more focused, and you know what, this is a spiritual exercise that I'm going through. This is something beneficial for me. This is something Allah and Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wants me to take out time for. So with even every action, if you look at the surrounding factors Allah's placed, He's placed many things that protects your mindset to not be distracted and just like working on your jobs or your business or your livelihoods, and not focus on what is important. So even with that, Allah talks about trade in the time of Jummah, that is haram. um, إذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض. When the salah is finished, and go back to your trade and do as much as you want, and inshallah that time will become full of barakah. But before that, you're supposed to إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله. When the salah time is comes, hasten towards salah. So I'm saying is, look at the structure around the deen with regard to the Jum'ah salah. It is very much focused, and it wants you to be mentally focused as well. So I mean, I did start, and time is finished, but this thought in my mind. This is a verse of Quran in Surah Nisa when Allah says, "Ar-rajalu qawwamun 'ala nisa," that men are the protectors and maintainers, the qawwamun. So this word is qawwam, of women, right? Bima fadalallahu ba'dhum 'ala ba'd, because of the gift, or because of the favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed some over others. Some people get certain statuses or ranks not for just like a virtue or a benefit or to control things, but it is because Allah has placed structure in the deen to allow one to do one action, the other to do the other action, and prioritize life. So life becomes very smooth, and people can actually function in a cohesive way, and one that is functional away from the distractions. So there's a structure within deen. So Allah says, "Bima fadallahu ba'dhum ala ba'd, wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim," and also because of the spending that men are required to do over their families. over the woman, that itself, the spending that they do, gives them a merit of spending, of sadaqah, of good deeds over the woman who's not required to spend on the family, not required to spend on the men. This is a requirement of men over women. They have to do that for them. So that as well is a good action and gives them some virtue for the efforts that they put out, for the time and the efforts that they put out on the family. فالصالحات قانتات حافظات للغيب مما حفظ Allah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, and because they support them, therefore the righteous women are devoutly obedient. Because of the structure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that men are the protectors and the maintainers of the woman, and because of the actions that they do, and because of the efforts, and because of the structure of deen that I have placed, the parties that are involved, which are the women, they are devoutly obedient. They are pious women. They are salihat, qanitat. They guard as well their husbands. They guard in their husband's absence what Allah have would have them guard. So they're very mindful of the honor of the husband, the home, the wealth of the husband, the family, the children, everything that there is. And the point I'm making in this, because time again has not allowed us to continue, these structures take away many of the distractions that come about. And this is the beauty of the deen. Whenever you look at things and you look at it in a holistic way, and you look at, okay, how did Allah put this structure in such a place, such a way that allows proper movement, or allows opportunity of ease of function, then you would see the structure of deen has a prioritization. And this is one of those prioritizations that Allah has left us with, is so that we can not be distracted, seize opportunities, and then also be focused and dhakir, always working towards the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects. This is one of those structures. The family structure, when men are supposed to do some things, and women are supposed to do some things. The man is the Amir of the house, and the women are those who would respect the Amir and take care of the house. When those structures are in place in Deen, then the family functions, society functions, everything functions. And we do not become distracted, and we do not turn away from those things that are important and place less important things in it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding that Deen is perfect. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي. That Allah has perfected this deen for us, and He has made it complete. This is the deen Allah has chosen for us. So with that, the structures of deen is something that is very beautiful, and one that is very empowering and powerful as well. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding that we can look at the beauty of the deen, and that we can implement some of the structures that Allah Himself has placed for us, so that we can become successful in this world, and we can seize all of the opportunities, and that when we go into Jannah we would have less regret. Because we will have regret, we will still have regret, because right now we lose a lot of time, energy, and resources towards those distractions, and we do that sometimes acknowledging that we're doing that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us more focus towards what those things are that are important, and inshallah grant us Jannatul Firdaus, and grant us that love and unity that we so crave, and that He gives us the understanding of the beauty of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can worship Him and really, really become full of gratitude for the iman, for the opportunities of life. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
Jazakallah Mufti Abrar Sahib for the enlightened discourse. May Allah Ta'ala reward him for that, and may Allah Ta'ala accept all of our ibadat throughout this blessed month of Ramadan. Um, as was mentioned and has been is being mentioned every day, we're still on social media as well. It is time for us to keep our momentum up, not allow don't let ourselves become lazy in these last few moments. Don't think we've done enough, because a Muslim always aims for the highest. So tonight is also the 26th night. Then tomorrow is the 27th night of Ramadan. Um, Shabi Qadr, Laylatul Qadr, we still search for, we still hope to get and obtain. So let's try our best in these last few days and nights of Ramadan to do as much as we can. And Alhamdulillah, the programs continue after Fajr. So roughly um, that's around 5:25 or so. We have the session beginning. Then after Asr Salah, around 5:15 in the evening. Then after Isha, the Sirah classes take place. And inshallah, we'll also be having our Khatmi Quran on Monday. On Monday, inshallah, Monday night, we'll be having our Khatmi Quran. Most probably, it will also be streamed live here as well. So and everyone can join in and benefit from the dua and the Khatmi Quran. May Allah Ta'ala accept all of our efforts. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Bi rahmatika ya